Good morning.
Tekken has a reputation of having one of the highest skill ceilings in all the fighting game genre, because the series rewards intense game knowledge and execution. So what happens when they try to replicate that on the Game Boy? Today we're going to be looking at all the various portable Tekken games that have come out throughout the years, so get ready to Korean backdash on the tiniest D-pad possible.
The Tekken.
So just like Guilty Gear, Tekken's portable journey surprisingly starts off on Bandai's Japanese-only handheld console, the WonderSwan, with the title Tekken Card Challenge, which was released in the summer of 1999, and in the exact same month that Tekken Tag Tournament hit the arcades. As the name implies, Tekken Card Challenge sadly isn't a 16-bit rendition of your usual Tekken, but a card battler that focuses less on deck building and more on pressing a button at the right time. Battles happen between two very cute chibi Tekken characters with cards that depict their moves. Every card has different values attached to them, ranging from 0 to 100, and your goal is to pick a card with a bigger number than the opponent so you can hit them with an attack. And for the most part, it's really that simple. But there are some unique cards. Some cards can guard attacks. Some cards can hit the opponent up for a juggle that allows you to pick another card for a follow-up, and some cards are even chain throws. If a character has an iconic move, it'll be here in chibi card form. But the goofy part is that both players' hands are visible at all times, and you don't just get to pick any card from your hand, because your cursor is constantly scrolling down, so you have to manually time your selection. Any card game player knows that RNG is a big factor that goes into these games, but the auto-scrolling hands just feel like a replacement for the lack of depth, because at the end of the day, all you really want to do is play a card with a bigger number. But I also can't deny that the anxiety of seeing my opponent play something and looking at my hand knowing that I only have one card that can beat their choice and the rush of getting that one card to win the match feels good. Also, combos are cool in any game, so check out this Touch of Death. Tekken Card Challenge is single player, has you picking a character going through different stages collecting cards and fighting random jobbers alongside rival characters, until you level up enough to visit the Ogre World, where you fight Ogre as the final boss. On every stage, you have a limited number of steps you can take until you find the exit, and if you run out of steps or lose in battle, you just get booted to the title screen, and you can pick up exactly where you left off, so there's not much of a penalty for losing. And yeah, that's really it. Just keep repeating this until you unlock everyone. So depending on how badly you want to see the chibi pixel art rendition of the Tekken 3 cast, that might just be worth doing. In my portable Guilty Gear video, I sort of played off the WonderSwan as a goofy Japanese oddity, but in reality, Bandai's handheld sold millions and had tons of awesome games that sadly the West never got to officially experience. But Tekken Card Challenge is probably not one of those system sellers. Cute oddity, but it's not the 16-bit portable Magic the Gathering successor with Tekken characters that we all desperately needed. Also in 2013, the mobile phone app Tekken Card Tournament released, and I'd like to believe that it has to be the pseudo-spiritual successor to Card Challenge, right? Sadly, the game's servers were shut down in 2017, probably because another mobile phone Tekken game called Tekken Mobile was about to release in 2018, and that also got its server shut down. And does anyone remember the Tekken Bowl iOS app? Or the weird strategy RPG Tekken Arena? Both of these got discontinued too, so Tekken sure does have an interesting mobile phone legacy. Now for the famously goofy portable Tekken. We have Tekken Advance, released for the Game Boy Advance in 2001. And you know what? This game legitimately rules. Tekken Advance is a weird mishmash between Tekken 3 and Tekken Tag Tournament that somehow works when it really shouldn't. Sidesteps, the movement, the electrics, the juggles, wall rising attacks, and yes, even the chain throws are all here and plays well, even though a bit of that 3D Tekken fat you know and love has of course been trimmed. Tekken Advance is technically a 4-button game, but there isn't a button dedicated to each limb here. Instead, you have punch, kick, grab, and a tag button, cause this game weirdly enough has a 3v3 tag mode, which is one more character than the actual Tekken Tag games. Of course though, move lists are a bit more bite-sized, but what is left are the core moves that make up every character here. The characters themselves are based on their Tekken Tag Tournament version, but the cast is mostly made up of the base Tekken 3 roster, minus Eddie and Lei, but adding Jack and Heihachi. I can only guess that adding Eddie Gordo would have been too much for this tiny little cart to handle, but this game obviously has a lot of ambition. So yeah, genuinely this game plays better than it has any right to, and for such an early Game Boy Advance release, it's very impressive to me. But I just want to get even dumber with it, and show off the fact that with recent developments on FPGA hardware like the Mister, alongside Azum's GBA2P core, you could play games like Tekken Advance in real life, with sticks, on a single monitor, and it's awesome. So if you've been secretly grinding Tekken Advance tech that the world has never seen, you can actually show it off at a local now. Now let's move on to the two Tekkens released on the PSP. Tekken 5 Dark Resurrection in 2006, and Tekken 6 released in 2009. I usually don't group games like this together, but in all honesty, I don't have too much to say about these games, and that's actually for a good reason. These two portable ports are just super solid versions of their console and arcade counterparts. So, I'm sorry if you were expecting something goofy or bad, but Tekken fans were eating super well on the PSP, because they could legitimately practice their game on the go, and for a lot of people, the PSP was close enough to the pad they were already playing the game on for tournaments. Now of course, not everything was included into these packages, because single player content in general is a bit lacking for both of these games, besides very bland gimmicky side modes to unlock currency to customize characters with. Tekken 5 PSP is the Dark Resurrection update, so no Devil Within mode, and Tekken 6 doesn't have the scenario mode, which does suck, because obviously it's a tiny bit harder to get some games in with someone else on a PSP. But again, at the end of the day, these ports were incredibly solid for the time if you just wanted Tekken on the go. But okay, now let's get really goofy. Something that's a bit mind-blowing to me is that Tekken 6 on the PSP has a very dedicated and impressive modding scene, almost 15 years after its release. Yeah, you heard me. Tekken 6 PSP modding. The most well-known mod is the Tekken Global mod, which aims to bring Tekken 7 to the PSP. And the crazy part is that yeah, they're actually doing it. All the aesthetics, the mechanics, and even characters like Akuma are being ported onto the PSP. This is just so impressive and nuts at the same time. How could you not love this? Next up we have Tekken 3D, Prime Edition, released for the 3DS in early 2012. For whatever reason, the 3DS had tons of fighting games, with Tekken having a pretty impressive showing technically. 3D Prime Edition is essentially a unique port of the PSP version of Tekken 6, but with some original stages and music that I hope show up in other Tekkens at some point. Young Heihachi from Tekken Tag Tournament 2, who replaces old Heihachi altogether for some reason. And of course, 3D. Obviously there's no good way to show you that 3D mode here. But do know that in 3D mode the game actually still ran at 60 frames per second, which is honestly as cool as it is headache inducing. The 3D gimmick also ties into one of 3D Prime Edition's selling points that had 3DS owners running to the store shelves. You can watch the entire Tekken Blood Vengeance movie in compressed glorious faux 3D. Man, this movie sucks. Just show us the characters fighting. I promise you that's all we need and that's all we want. Just show them fighting. Anyways, like the PSP Tekkens, 3D Prime Edition is an impressive showcase for the system, but there's also just not much to do besides fighting the CPU while playing solo. This is just a weirder portable version of Tekken 6 released when fans had already moved on to Tekken Tag Tournament 2, which to me makes this the least memorable handheld Tekken. Except, it has one funny aspect. It has easy inputs, just like Street Fighter 4 on the 3DS. Sadly, the game doesn't let you do anything as stupid as walk forward guile sonic booms, because what moves you're able to assign onto the bottom screen is limited, so you don't get to spam electrics by tapping the bottom screen. But you can spam regular Wind God Fists, and even do full-on strings with some characters, and if you don't feel like touching the screen, you can hold L or R and press a button to access the easy input moves as well. It's super scrubby, but hey, it's fun. And that's all that Tekken 3D Prime Edition really offers. Finally, I want to talk about Tekken Tag Tournament 2 for the Wii U. While not technically a portable game, you could play the game on the Wii U gamepad in bed or something. And look, we're gonna say this counts, because this is probably the only time I'll ever get to talk about this. Coming out 2 months after the 360 and PS3 versions, Tekken Tag Tournament 2 Wii U Edition came with all of the DLC from the other versions already on the disc, as well as some new Nintendo costumes for characters, which I love. I mean, check out Steve Fox McCloud. This rules. They also brought back my beloved Tekken Ball mode from Tekken 3, and even added an entirely new mushroom battle mode, where all sorts of Mario mushrooms spawn around the stage that can hurt you, or make you super big, or super small. In my opinion, Tekken was the king of these fun gimmicky modes back then, and I'm sad that these in particular are stuck on the Wii U. So I hope future Tekkens allow for more casual, goofy fun like this, cause sometimes, you just want your fighting game to be a bit ridiculous. And those are all of Tekken's portable outings, and generally, they're all pretty good. As dumb as it sounds, I do really miss when portable hardware was significantly weaker than their console counterparts, solely because we would get dumb stuff like Tekken Advance. But I also can't complain about having Tekken 7 in the palm of my hand now either. So, whether you're playing Tekken Card Challenge on the WonderSwan, or Tekken 7 on the Steam Deck, have fun. Thanks.